The United States is facing a major economic blow as Canadian tourists and consumers turn away from American goods and services. What began as a reaction to new tariffs from President Donald Trump's administration has now escalated into a widespread boycott movement. According to the U.S. Travel Association, even a 10% drop in Canadian visitors could cost the U.S. over $2 billion in revenue and threaten 140,000 jobs in hospitality and related industries. But the reality is far worse. In April alone, road travel from Canada to the U.S. fell by 35%, while air travel dropped 20% compared to last year. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has openly urged citizens to avoid traveling to the US and instead support domestic tourism. The response has been significant. In 2024, more than 20 million Canadians visited the US, spending over $20 billion. But in 2025, those numbers are collapsing. Florida, where Canadians once made up nearly 40% of international tourists, and Texas, which earned over $400 million from Canadian visitors last year, are now seeing devastating losses. Experts estimate that if this boycott continues, the US economy could lose more than $6 billion from Canadian tourists alone this year. The backlash goes beyond tourism. Canadian retailers are removing US products from their shelves, replacing them with domestic or international alternatives. Apps like MapleScan now allow shoppers to quickly identify American-made goods so they can avoid them. Alcohol imports from the US have plummeted after Canada imposed a 25% tariff on wine, beer, and spirits. Some provinces have eliminated American alcohol altogether. And the trend is not limited to Canada. In Europe, nearly half of consumers report buying fewer American products in protest of Washington's foreign policies. Tesla has seen sales plunge almost 30% in the European market. Even global brands like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks are feeling the impact. According to the U.S. National Travel and Tourism Office, total losses from declining international tourism could exceed $12.5 billion this year. Economists warn that international visitors bring in more than $200 billion annually to the U.S. economy, a figure larger than all of America's agricultural exports combined. With Mexican tourism also falling sharply, the situation is spreading across North America. In March, air travel from Mexico to the US dropped 23% year-on-year. Analysts say strict immigration controls and inflammatory remarks from President Trump have further damaged trust in the region. The economic shock is visible in US cities and border regions. New York City lost more than 2 million international visitors in the first quarter of 2025, mostly from Canada and Europe, with losses estimated at $4 billion. Hotels, restaurants, and shops are closing or laying off workers. Border towns that once depended on Canadian road travelers report traffic down by more than 30%. Major Canadian airports have cut back US flights due to weak demand, something not seen in over a decade. The ripple effect is hitting airlines, airports, restaurants, and even banks. Delta, United, and American Airlines have slashed routes to border cities after a double-digit decline in Canadian passengers. Regional airports report traffic reductions of up to 40%. Credit card companies like Visa and MasterCard have issued profit warnings, citing fewer cross-border transactions. Retail and outlet malls near the border are also suffering. Canadian shoppers once drove weekend sales, but stores in New York, Michigan, and Washington state are now seeing sales plummet by nearly a third. Luxury brands are pulling inventory, while restaurants in Niagara Falls and Vermont say weekday bookings have nearly disappeared. Business travel and cross-border events are also being disrupted. Conferences and expos that once drew Canadian participants to US cities are moving to Vancouver or Toronto. Even international festivals and sporting events in border states are struggling to attract Canadian attendance. Economists caution that this may not be a temporary downturn. Consumer behavior is shifting, and trust once lost is hard to rebuild. If the US cannot repair trade and diplomatic relations, the boycott trend could become permanent, weakening America's global economic leadership. As Harvard's Professor David Bloom notes, when tourists stop coming, they take with them far more than hotel bookings. They take an entire ecosystem of demand that sustains thousands of businesses. From cancelled trips to empty shelves in Canadian supermarkets, the consequences of this trade standoff are spreading fast, and the long-term cost to the US economy could be immense. This is USA News Report. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.